All right, what is up on what day is it? Saturday evening. I'm here with author Terry M. West. How you doing, Terry?
I'm doing great, Eric. Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Nah, no,
You
thank
know,
you. All right, so tell the viewers who you are and what you do.
well, my name's Terry West. Actually, it's Terry M. West. I use the M because there are a lot of Terry Wests out there. But I'm a lifelong horror fan. I'm an author. I've been doing this since around 1997, and I have written more books than I can count at this point in my life.
Mhm.
I like to call myself the hardest working horror author no one's ever heard of because, you know, it's funny how many people are like, I've vaguely heard of you. And these days I'm doing a podcast called The Horror Collector, where I talk about my second biggest love outside my family and the writing, which is I'm very passionate about collecting horror items and very knowledgeable about it. So I figured, well, why not apply that to something practical? So I have a channel here on YouTube. It's the Horror Collector Podcast with me, Terry M. West.
That's really cool. So, what inspired you to start, doing it as a podcast?
There's a podcast program on here called Monster Men, and it's
Mm.
two of my buddies are involved with it. Hunter Shea and Jack Campasi, I think I'm saying his
Mm.
name right. And they had me on as a guest a couple of times, and and I really enjoyed it. We were just talking about horror movies and horror shows, and just I had done some live videos on YouTube. I mean,
Mm.
excuse me, on Facebook. And I just said, you know what? I think this is an interesting premise, horror collectibles. So yeah, I just started doing it, and I try to keep it light and fun, and
Mm.
I joke around a lot, and I try to give as much information as I can on the things that I have and the things that I want, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So you said that you're a lifelong horror fan. Do you remember like some of the first horror movies that had a big impact on you?
Yes, and this is one I always talk about.
Mm.
My family, they're back in Texas. They were horror junkies, and they took me to the drive-in like every weekend, every single weekend, like from dusk to dawn stuff. And the movie that had the biggest impact on me was Night of the Living Dead,
Okay.
1968. That movie just instantly made me a horror fan. I mean, I just think it's probably one of the most instrumental films ever made. It entirely created the zombie genre as we know it.
Right.
And Romero was just a craftsman. I'm a big fan of his too. So yeah,
So
that's
you have
that's
some love
definitely.
for your horror podcast.
Oh, hey, Dwayne. D.S. Ullery, a very, very talented author and very good friend of mine. He's actually I've actually got a couple of his titles out under my publication label Too Much Weird. So,
All
but
right.
yeah, thanks, buddy. I appreciate the shout out.
So yeah, we were talking about Night of the Living Dead.
Yes, yeah, Not the Living Dead. But I mean, man, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Mm.
Just all the Reanimator, like all the
That's a good
80s
one.
from the 60s to the 80s. That's what drew me in. And a lot of my book projects reflect, my tastes. Like most of my stuff is very old school
Mm.
horror, and a lot of people pick up on it, but I mean, I'm not a snob because there are a lot of modern movies I like too.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy that's only going to watch, Reanimator on VHS, and that's it.
Yeah.
Although I am pretty particular about what kind of movies I like these days,
Mm.
So, but yeah,
What are
man,
some of
like
the
I
more
said.
modern ones that you liked?
Okay, well, I was a huge fan of Terrifier and Terrifier 2.
Oh, same.
Yeah, and
Love
I know
those.
they were brutal. They were brutal. They were over the top, but man, I I liked them. I went to Terrifier 2 in the theater with a buddy of mine, and we were just Like, people were turning green and we were
Oh
just
yeah.
popping popcorn. Yeah, we loved it. I also love a lot of the A24 stuff. Oh, it's hit and miss. Hereditary.
Mm.
I love one of my favorite movies that I always champion, and it's a little bit older now, is Session 9. I love Session
I
9.
love that movie.
That is, to me, one of the greatest slow burn,
Mhm.
quiet horror movies ever made.
I agree. That
Really
movie does
good.
not get enough love.
It doesn't. No, absolutely not. And the way that at the end you're sort of left to say, like, okay, is this just all in this dude's head?
Right?
Or is there an influence here? I like to go for the latter. I think there's something there that brings, if you have it in you, it just kind of,
Hmm.
the violence and the madness just kind of brings it out. But yeah, I love that movie. And another movie I watch every Halloween, besides Night of the
Mm.
Living Dead, is The Shining. Kubrick. I watch it every Halloween without fail. It
All
hits
right.
my yeah. And I know there's a lot of mixed feelings about that one, but I separate it from the book. I love Stephen
Yeah,
King's book.
I enjoy the movie, but
Yes,
I understand it is not the same story.
right. I know, absolutely. And that's what you have to tell yourself, when you're watching it. Like,
Hmm.
this is not King, because Kubrick was very, he loved to turn things around and just do things out of spite, just
Yeah.
be arbitrarily change things. So, and he also didn't want to be making a horror movie, but he was under contract. So,
Yeah.
he's being a bit of a prick, so definitely.
So, did you always want to be like an author and
Oh
filmmaker,
yeah.
all that stuff? Did you
Oh
always
yeah.
want to
Yeah.
get? Yeah.
Oh yeah. There, I had no doubt. When the author bug started first,
Mm.
and since I was a teenager, um, I just love to read and write, and actually a lot of the stories that I've recently, well, within the last 10 years, I took a first stab at it when I was like 17,
Hmm.
and I would dig them out and I would say, there's something here. Like, let's maybe take another stab at it and see if we could do
Hmm.
something with it. And matter of fact, my book, What Price Gory, here, I'll show you the cover. What Price Gory. This is the book
Mm.
that I'm most known for. And this is the book that when people say, hey, what should I start with? That's where I steer them. That's like a short story collection. It's very much inspired by, like, Creep Show and
Hmm.
Tales from the Dark Side and Monsters, and it's just the love of those projects is definitely in there. So, but yeah, no, from a young age, man, I love to write, and my grandmother was a voracious reader, so I think I wrote just to give her something to read. I think that's kind of what inspired me too, because she was like my favorite person,
Hmm.
on the earth. And filmmaking, when I used to run around when I was like in my teens with a Super 8 camera, you know,
Hmm.
and shoot things. And the viewfinder was down here.
Yeah.
So I always cut people's heads off, when I'd get the film back. But yeah, that bug there was, yeah, at a young age too. And basically, it always seemed like a pipe dream, like something I couldn't do. Like, how am I going to afford making a movie? And then the DV, error came upon us, and
Hmm.
I bought a little DV camera, and I went out and around '99, and I shot my first horror movie, and it was very gothic influenced, black and
Hmm.
white, called Blood for the Muse. And it was based on a comic series I'd written a few years before, and it was about this kind of psycho that thinks that if he commits tragedy upon tragedy, that he can
Hmm.
call forth the muse of tragedy, which is a Melpomene, I think is how you say it, Melpomene. It's been a while
Hmm.
since I've said her name. And that did, it's lo-fi. It's not that
Hmm.
great, but it led to me getting a lot of work, in the underground independent film scene in New York at the time.
Hmm.
And it's the only film I own, outright. I still have it. It's mine. I never
Yeah.
sold it. Every other project I worked on isn't mine, so I don't really talk about them.
Right.
But Blood for the Muse, it's on Amazon. You can stream it. You can rent it. You can buy it. And honestly, if you don't have a tolerance for lo-fi, do not rent it because it's very gritty. And like I said, it's black and white. And I'm really proud of it, but it's not Gone with the Wind. You
Right.
know what I mean? So like, yeah, if you have no tolerance for really lo-fi, low budget, then do yourself a favor and skip it. So
Some of the
yeah.
best movies had like no budget.
Oh, I think so. I love some of the. I really got into the shot on video scene
Hmm.
back in like I guess early '90s. There were like Scooter McCrae, Shatter Dead, and you know Ozone was a I forget Book Walter. Book Walter.
Hmm.
He did a bunch of really addicted to murder, the shot on video stuff. Tim Ritter. It was really cool stuff. And I mean, a lot of people didn't give it the love it really deserved because other than the fact that it was shot on video, it was actually really well done stuff.
Hmm.
So,
Let's see. Next question: are any of your books available as audiobooks?
oh yeah, almost
Yeah.
all of them.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they're on Audible. You can get them on
Okay.
Audible. You can get them on Amazon if you have a membership. You can you can rent them basically. But yeah, no, the majority of my books, and actually, I'm an audiobook reader because my eyes are starting to go on me a little bit.
Hmm.
I mean, I can see, don't get me wrong, but I love audiobooks. I also commute a lot. So
Hmm.
for me, audiobooks keep me sane when I'm on the road. Like I'll pop in. Last book I think I listened to was Brian Keene's. It was his Rising, but it was a supplement to his Rising. I forget the name of it, but it was like these separate zombie stories that led up from his series, and it was really good. It was really good. I listened to a lot of classic authors like
Hmm.
Matheson. I love Richard Matheson. I listened to Jack Ketchum, who I knew Dallas, and he
Hmm.
was a really cool guy. Rest in peace. And of course, King.
Of
I
course.
listen to King more than anybody, man. And you know,
Yep.
I fell out of love with his work for a bit, and
Hmm.
then he came out with a book called Revival. Have you read it
No, I haven't. I'm
or
not even familiar with that one in particular.
it's brilliant, and
Yeah.
it's the reason and what and the title isn't just the title of that book. I mean, to me, it was the revival of classic Stephen King. It's just
Hmm.
really up there, I thought, with his with like The Shining, Salem's Lot. Like it just really blew me away. And I've listened to that audiobook. If it wasn't a digital file, I probably would have worn it out by now. It's,
Yep.
that's I mean, I love that book.
Yeah.
It's just I
I
listen
stopped.
to it all
I
the time.
stopped reading this stuff for a while, and then Doctor
Mhm.
Sleep came out, and I'm like, okay, I need to check this
Yeah,
out. And
yeah,
I don't think I've read any of his stuff since then, though. But Doctor Sleep
yeah.
was incredible.
It was brilliant. I loved it. I loved it. Like I'm not like at the front of the line every time he releases a book.
Right.
But there are certain ones that that just I immediately like. Doctor Sleep is like, I gotta get Doctor Sleep. How can I not get Doctor Sleep? And yeah, but that revival, that was really good. And I think they've been trying to turn it into a movie, and it'd probably be one of his best if they could actually get it together. It's a really good movie.
All right. Question from the comments. Dwayne
Mhm.
says, one of your best recurring characters, in my opinion, is Baker. I'm wondering what inspired that character.
Oh wow. Okay. He's talking about my character, Baker Johnson.
Hmm.
And basically, his stories take place in the 1920s to 1940s. And he's a psychical researcher, which is what they called parapsychologists back then.
Hmm.
And he's British, and he's a combination of Sherlock Holmes and Kolchak the Night Stalker. He's brilliant, and he has this gift of looking at anybody and immediately knowing them, like
Hmm.
knowing everything. He gets these impressions, and I had a lot, and I wrote it because everything I write pretty tight and simplistic. I mean, not in a derogatory way, but
Right.
I was a writer for hire for many years, and you're taught to cut all the fat, you
Hmm.
know. And
You're
I
not, writing pages and pages of backstory of this character. You're only gonna meet once.
right,
Yeah.
right, right, and authors have a tendency sometimes to be too intimidated to write certain things.
Mhm.
And I said, like, I want to write something that's unlike anything I've written. And I researched the character Baker Johnson and everything about, this his setting, about significant historical events for like
Mhm.
6 months. And then I wrote the very first story with him was called The Giving of Things Cold and Cursed. And it was just a very short story because Baker, his uncle, was also a parapsychologist, and they keep what they call black rooms,
Mhm.
and that's where they jail possessed haunted items, you know. And so that was the very first story of him, and the second one, the most popular, was called Servant of the Red Quill, and he's Baker is dragged out of drunken retirement
Mhm.
to this wealthy man's house in the way out in the sticks of New York, because the daughter's been like possessed by a book that was written by Desatt, Marquis Desatt, and
Right.
and that was a really really popular one. And if you're talking about audiobooks, those are recorded by this excellent British narrator named Jason Mills, and
Mhm.
he's gone on to do some really big books. So if you're ever interested in hearing a really good, really well, voice that fit perfect, definitely check those out. So yeah.
All right. Next question. Has your story Night Things, has there ever been talks of it being turned into like a TV show or anything?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. A couple of, God, I think 3 or 4 years ago,
Mhm.
it was represented by a company, and they basically they loved it. They thought the idea was great, and
Mhm.
they represented it. But the thing about, I've had a lot of things optioned in my career, and 99% of the time they just don't work out for whatever reason.
Right.
Are you familiar with Aquabats? The
With what now?
Aquabats. They're the Aquabats. They're a ska band, superhero ska band.
Uh,
Well, what I'm trying to say is that it like took them 20 years to get something finally,
mhm.
done and produced. And the company that represented Night Things, they really really believed in it. And basically, it's a dark horror, dark fantasy series about a world where every monster, every monster legend exists
Mhm.
now among mankind, and people immediately say True Blood, and it's not though. It's sure there's some True Bloodish in there,
Right.
but there's also like Cast a Deadly Spell. There's also like Alienation, and
Mhm.
what makes mine different is I take actual historical fictional horror characters, and I just take them out of their books and I just
Mhm.
deposit them in this universe, and I try to stay true to the literary versions of them, and and I've had a lot of success with it, and a lot of people, have really enjoyed them. Matter of fact, I
Mhm.
have a new domain. It's night-things.com, and I've actually been doing a complete revamp of the series,
Oh,
and I'm
nice.
going to be and I'm going to be doing the final chapter of the story next year, which is going to be the 10th year anniversary of the series. Came out 2014, but I'll show you if you don't mind.
Yeah.
This is now I do all my own cover art. I'm a
Okay.
digital artist. I did it out of practicality because I couldn't afford someone, but I've actually gotten
Right.
pretty decent at it. But this is one of the titles. This is called this is Night Things. This is my most popular Night Things books. It's called Dracula versus Frankenstein.
All right.
And it's basically they've been warring for like centuries, and Dracula's kind of he's kind of a cult leader,
Mhm.
like he's like brainwashes everybody. And Frankenstein's a mob boss, in New York, and he calls himself Johnny Stuck, which in Stuck is German for pieces. So
Mhm.
and then this one is called Undead and Kicking, and this one actually incorporates Jack the Ripper. And Herbert West, Reanimator. He's a major character in this one too. So that's that book. And then this one is called Nowhere to Hide. So 3 guesses who that was. That one's about. And, you know, it's funny. I didn't realize it when I titled it, but Nowhere to Hide is actually a Scooby-Doo episode title.
Is it?
Yeah, and I didn't find that out till well into the book was done. And speaking of Baker Johnson, he's actually part of the Night Things universe, and this is his collection.
All
and
right.
It's called Baker, Demons and Other Night Things. And it's the origins of the Night Things seen through Baker Johnson's eyes. So
okay.
And then the very last one, and this one I always tell people, if you're easily offended, don't read it. It's the very first title of the Magic Now series, and or the Night Things series, and it changed after that. It's called Heroin and the Magic Now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about a heroin-addicted pornographer who shoots monster porn.
That sounds interesting.
And it's very like a lot of people love it.
Mm-hmm.
People have compared it to, Bukowski, but it's very offensive if you're not, if you don't have a tough skin. I always tell people, don't read it.
Yeah.
It's very, very brutal, and there's a purpose to it,
Yeah.
Because it's like basically the character could be in any society, any world,
Mm-hmm.
and all this stuff would still be kind of happening around
Right.
him, so. But that's the series. I'm doing a final book in the series called The Horde Frequency, which like brings everything together, because in my world, zombies are controlled by a frequency. If they're in groups less than 12, they're okay. But if they gather more than that, they become one. They get this mind control, and they go nuts. So they're the world, so they're brutally kept in small groups, and this last book finally explains why, and it's been sort of a theme running through all the books, and this one's going to be the big finale where it's like where we find out why that is, and all that, and then we also ask the question is, if you get rid of it, does that mean the zombies are any less dangerous?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because they're still
right.
So that's it. That's the whole Night Things thing.
All right.
Yeah. And I will tell you right now, if you don't mind a little soft promotion from that.
Oh, go ahead. It's fun.
All right. I wrote this book. It's called Gruesome. It's a 600-page collection of my work. It's got a lot of stuff in there.
All right.
That's it. That's the paperback. It's 600 pages. And I looked on Amazon, right? And right now on Amazon, that paperback is $4.67.
Oh, wow.
It's normally a $25 book.
Right.
But they occasionally will mark things down. So if anybody's interested in that, I'm probably going to order a couple myself. that's about half of what I pay for for a contributor guy.
Right.
And also right now, I have an Amazon freebie running. Mm-hmm. So if you're interested in trying my work, you can do it. Well, I have some permanently free stories on Amazon anyway, but I have this collection called Gate 4, and it's currently free on Amazon, and it's running until the 17th. So if you go to Amazon.com, type in my name, Terry M. West, all my books will pop up, and you'll see 3 or 4 free titles. So, hey, no harm, no foul. You might waste a half hour, on the short stories, but yeah. So.
All right. So you said you're working on the last one for that series. What else are you working on? Anything else?
Yeah, I'm working on. Well, I have a couple of things I'm working on. Excuse me. I'm doing eventually I'm going to be doing a horror collector book.
Okay.
Which is going to be a guide to what I call, it's going to be called the Horror Collector's Bucket List. And it's going to be one of 100 of the most sought after items that horror collectors are trying to get their hands on.
That's a really cool concept.
I'm going to work on that. But that's I'm probably going to do a Kickstarter or something, because that's going to be a lot of time and investment in that. I'm also writing, I'm writing a new short story that I'm going to be trying to. It's called Hell Swept. It's actually a
Mhm.
novelette. It's a little longer, and I'm really happy with that. I just have to be extremely happy with it before I release it.
Right.
So I'm trying to get that going too. And I have a series called Weirdsmith, and it's actually Dwayne DS, who popped up earlier.
Mhm.
He's involved in it, and it's 9 issues are out. They're 99-cent ebooks, or you can buy paperbacks. And I picked a different author for each book,
Mhm.
and they went in and wrote stories, and they're really good authors. Really good names in the genre. And so we're doing that. I eventually am going to collect them all into one massive collection,
Mhm.
and I'll probably do a Kickstarter for that too. Because that's kind of what you have to do these days. Because I don't like, my model has always been, royalty split, or
Right.
give you a little something. And my attitude is, if I'm gonna publish other authors,
Mhm.
if I can't just pay them, up front, and just get it done with, and we're done and
Mhm.
we're good, then I'm probably not going to do it anymore,
Right.
because it's a lot to keep track of. And, you
Another
know,
thing you could do, I don't know if you thought about it, is maybe set up like a Patreon.
yeah, I've thought about it,
Oh,
like you
you
said.
could, be like, here's the first sentence in the new book, crap like that, I
Well,
feel like people would latch onto, or,
yeah,
let people
well,
access
see,
like their first drafts after a book is published, or
yeah, that's true. But see, the thing about Patreon,
Mhm.
because it has been mentioned, and I always had a weird feeling about it,
Okay.
because I always felt like I'm asking people to pay my bills. You know what I mean? And I pay my own bills,
Right.
for me, so I always felt, and then I always also thought, if I have a Patreon, I'm going to feel obligated to put something on there constantly,
Mhm.
because I want people to have things for their money, you
Right.
know? So I mean, I'm not saying it's completely out of the question, but I'd really have to think about it. But like I did an Indiegogo for this one, Nowhere to Hide,
Mhm.
and it was a success. And
Good.
so and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And actually, a couple of people were uh, were written as characters, in the book.
Right.
And I asked them, "What do you want to be? You want to be a vampire, zombie?" And I wrote them into the book. So, but that was successful, and that's probably what I'm going to do with the horde frequency too. And also what I want to do is, once I've done the last chapter of Night Things, I want to just do a massive omnibus and
Mhm.
write like 3 or 4 original, brand new short stories for it, and make it really nice. So, you
Alright,
know,
cool.
yeah.
Do you have any conventions or other events booked for next year?
Here's the thing, man. I used to go to
Mhm.
conventions all the time and
Mhm.
sit there, and believe me, I loved it. But I'm at a point in my life where when I go to a convention, man, I want to be there as a guest, as
Yeah.
a guy that's walking around buying stuff, meeting actors, meeting
Mhm.
other authors. I'm slowing down as far as appearances go.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm not saying no, and there are
Right.
a couple that, I mean, I would definitely go to. The opportunity arose, but I mean, I tell most of my people, if you want to get like a signed book from me, it's like I have an Etsy store. If you buy a book and
Mhm.
send me a receipt, I mean, I will get like an author sticker and sign it and send it to you free of charge, or maybe cover the postage. It's not a big
Right.
deal. And I mean, I know I come across as pretty confident, pretty
Mhm.
comfortable, but I am extremely, extremely awkward, socially awkward. What I like to say is I'm like Spider-Man,
Mhm.
constantly joking, while he's fighting the
Yeah.
villains, but inside he's petrified. So that's kind of me.
Yeah.
I'm better doing it like this.
Mhm.
Also, a lot of times you have to sit there and sell yourself
Mhm.
to people, and you'll just be saying the same stuff over and over and over and over
Right.
again. And it's just tiring, So, but yeah, I'm at a point where I'm like, I don't want to constantly be chasing my tail as a
Right.
writer. And you can do that. I mean, I finally hit a point where I'm like, you know what? I got a lot of stuff out there. There it is, guys. You can either read it or
Mhm.
not read it. It's like I have various streams of income. I write out of passion. I
Mhm.
make money on my writing, and I've made really good money on my writing, but I don't rely on it.
Right.
For me, it's gravy. So yeah, I'm just like I'm really kind of just pulling back a little bit because I'm like I've been doing this 30 years,
Right.
and I just feel like it's the same old like treadmill over and over and over.
Mhm.
Because you put a book out, you promote the hell out of it. It gets a bump for about a month, and then you drop off the face of the earth
Right.
until you write your next one, and then you have to you
Do it
know,
all over
do
again.
it all over again. Like
Yeah.
there are authors that put a book out and just get a bunch of copies right away. I'm the guy that puts it out and it just builds and builds and
Mhm.
builds and word of mouth and all that. Um, I get consistent sales. I mean, people read my work every single day, and that's not like a flex. It's just
Right.
it's the truth. And but I can't tell you how many ratings I have on Goodreads right now, or how many or the how many 1-star reviews, because I
Mhm.
just don't do that crap anymore. It's
Right.
exhausting. And that's my advice to writers is just relax, don't take it so seriously, man.
Exactly.
And you guys that say I'm going to quit because I can't make a living out of it, what the hell? It's a million and one chance you're going to make a living out of it.
Exactly.
Do it because you love it. Don't do it because you think you can actually pay your bills with it, because a lot of
Exactly.
folks can't. A lot of artists can't, but they
I mean,
keep doing it like me.
it's the same whether you're a writer or a
Right.
musician doing shit like I
Mhm.
do, like,
Yeah.
do it because you love it, not
Right.
because you wanna make a quick buck.
Right. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I've always been that way. And I feel sorry for a lot of authors, like they'll have these
Mhm.
meltdowns, and I'm like, I know name authors that can barely pay their bills,
Right.
that have to run GoFundMe's every time they have a medical emergency.
Mhm.
It's just not a practical, fall back on
Right.
something, because the thing is, if you're not paying your mortgage, paying your insurance,
Mhm.
putting food in the refrigerator on what you do as a living, then you're not making a living. You might
Exactly.
be making some money, but but you got to pay your bills, and you also got to not let your family have to do all the heavy lifting.
Right.
So, but I was lucky because I was recognized by my relatives, like, hey, you're really talented, but you know what, get a day job.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I've always had realistic expectations about how far I would
Right.
go and what I would do. So yeah, but don't give up. Whatever you do,
Absolutely.
man, don't give up, because the world needs you know, and I believe in you.
Alright.
Definitely.
This question's a little bit off the wall, but I ask all my
Okay.
guests this. If
Yes.
you were a salad, what dressing would it have?
Oh, Russian dressing. I,
Okay.
I
Wow.
only because I love it. Oh,
Okay.
well, let me put it to you this way, because I don't want people to get the wrong impression. Thousand Island.
Mhm.
Thousand Island. Let me take that back. Not Russian, although that's what Thousand Island is. Thousand Island, because it's just, I don't know. It just that's the first thing that popped in my head. Now I
Okay.
want a salad, damn it. Eric, come on. I want to go eat a salad with a lot of like Thousand Island on it.
Do it.
I don't know if you could tell this or not, but I'm a fan of food.
I understand.
Oh man.
Exactly, Dwayne. Doesn't know a single artist that doesn't work a day job or have some other income. Exactly.
Well, yeah. I mean, you'll see some that profess to. Um, and they're constantly turning books out.
Right.
It's just like because they have to, and I'm like, that must be miserable. It must be miserable to say I've got to write a book in a week, or I can't pay, my car insurance. It's
Right.
just like crazy. I'd rather just take my time, put out what I feel I need to put out, not feel pressured, not feel rushed, just do things at my own pace.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying I was never like that as an author, like
Right.
wanting to be, because I was, I'm sure. I actually supported myself as a writer at certain times in my life, but it was writing stuff I hated,
Right.
like copywriting, technical writing, and I'm like, this isn't what I want to write,
Right.
and I was so burnt from doing all that, um, technical writing that or freelance writing that I didn't write my own stuff. So, like I always say, my writing, if the minute it starts to feel like a job, I'm probably going to start to hate it
Yeah.
because it's a passion. It's what I do. So yeah,
Right.
it's for the sanity and for the soul.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right. What would you say is the coolest horror collectible that you have right within your reach?
Oh gosh.
Or
Oh man,
something interesting. Show us something
Right.
interesting.
I'll show you a recent one. I have to take my
Right.
buds out for a second.
That's fine.
Okay. All right. Put these back on so I can hear you.
All right.
You see my sexy sweats? Walking around. I put them on. I'm not sounding like you're going to see my pants on camera. Um, I'm a huge Elvira Mistress of the Dark fan.
Mhm.
And oh shoot, hold on. All right. Okay. Good Lord. All right. All right. So one thing that I have, unfortunately, I can't show you because it's attached to my wall. Are you familiar with Elvira Mistress of the Dark? The movie?
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen it, but I know of it. I know
Right.
basically what it is.
Well,
Yeah.
basically, they sent a media kit to Blockbuster video stores where you could win a date or spend Valentine's Day with Elvira and win all these
Okay.
prizes. And this is one of the pieces of it.
Oh wow.
What a pair, Elvira and Valentine's Day. And actually, if you want to see this whole kit, just jump on my channel because I do a whole episode devoted to Elvira.
Okay.
But this is one of my most treasured pieces, and one more Elvira piece is this Thriller video.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Now this is one of the rare Thriller videos. It's Human Duplicators. You don't see it that often. And I went to a show and I got her to sign it for me.
Nice.
And this video, like with this signature, is just you don't see it. It probably, if I wanted to sell it, I'd probably get 700, but I'm not selling it.
No, for sure.
And this was, man, I got this with a gift card. It's on my 100 most sought after items. It's the original soundtrack of The Shining.
Oh wow.
Now from 1980. Now this is very rare because there were only about 100 of these pressed and they got jerked off the market or pulled off the market because Kubrick, he dealt with getting the music for the film himself. And while he did secure the rights to feature the music in a film, he didn't for a soundtrack.
Oh.
Yeah, so that got pulled off the shelves, and it's of the first. And also this one's a promo. You can't see it here, but this was a promotional one, which makes it even rarer. That was sent to like radio stations and stuff, and that's been on my radar for like a decade. And I finally got it. I think last Hanukkah I got it, and very happy to have that. Like I said, that's one of my most. But believe me, I'm gonna cut off everything because I could just be dragging stuff in front of you. Look at that. Because this room, I call it my fortress of horritude. This is where I write. This is where I broadcast. And this is sometimes where I come and just, kick my feet up and just, soak in all my voice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. Definitely love it. So, but yeah, that's it. And like I said, every episode, I sometimes have a theme, sometimes I don't,
Mm,
and I'll try to show something off if I have it, and if I don't have it, I'll still talk about it. It might be something that's on my bucket list, but yeah, it's really fun, and I've had to actually slow down a little bit because I'm running out of room. I'm gonna have to start making some hard decisions here pretty
hmm.
soon. Either go for smalls or I might have to sell off some of it and
Yeah.
make room. And then I try to keep my collectibles as its own little like organic financial system.
Hmm.
you know, so like if I want something, I'm like, I gotta sell something if I want that. So
Right. Now, one
kind of
more
helps
question about
me.
your
Yeah.
collectibles. You said you're writing
Mhm.
your top 100 most sought after. Do you have the whole 100 list or no?
I'm still working on it.
Like, do you
I'm
have like
still.
all the items on your list?
Oh no, not yet, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. I have maybe 25.
Okay.
Because you have to understand it has to be as close to a universal
Mm,
collectible as possible because like I could say, hey, this is really, and people might be like, all right, like
right.
what's the deal? So I'm trying to have a nice balance so that there'll
Mhm,
be something in there for any kind of collector, you know, like toys, model kits, just
mhm.
everything, comics. I'm just, and also, I might open it up to people, to tell me, hey, what's a collectible you want
Mhm.
that you've never been able to get, just for inspiration and everything. So
Right.
yeah, and it's not going to be like a price guide or anything because that
Right.
that's very temporary. Price guides are very temporary.
Exactly. You'd have to,
Uh,
update every couple of months.
right, exactly. I don't. That's too much work.
Yeah.
I'm too late. I'm too lazy for that. So, but yeah, but just a nice tape, coffee table book,
Yeah.
pretty pictures, and yeah, definitely want to do that, and that's why I want to do the, I'm trying to do a Kickstarter for it because I have to get photos. I probably have to
Right.
license those photos. I might have to go to places and look at things and or so yeah, so it's just not something I can just throw together. It's
Right.
going to take a big investment. So yeah, I'm probably going to try to get some people to support it. When the
Yeah.
time, hopefully next year sometime, start that.
All right. Where can people find you and keep up to date on what you're doing?
Well, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, but I'm on
Mm,
TikTok and Instagram as the Horror Collector. You can find me on there. I have my own domain, although it needs some work. I actually
yeah.
need to spruce it up a bit, but it's terrymwest.com. That's Terry, M as in Mike,
Mm,
West.com. There's also night-things.com. I have a YouTube channel, The Horror Collector.
mhm.
The Horror Collector Podcast with Terry M. West is the actual title. And I also have a Night Things YouTube as well and TikTok. But your best route is to go to terrymwest.com. You can contact me. You can find my books. You can
Mhm.
find my social media pages and all that good stuff.
All right.
Yeah,
Well, this episode would not have been possible without my best friend in the whole world, Stephanie. Terry, what do you
Stephanie.
want to say to Steph?
Stephanie, you've always been a great friend. You've always been a great supporter. And I want to thank you for making this interview possible because now Eric and I, we're like best friends now.
Exactly.
I made a new best friend today. No, Stephanie, awesome. Thank you. Keep it up.
Absolutely. And what do
Yeah.
you want to say to your other fans who watch this?
Well, I don't like to call them fans. I like to call them
Okay.
readers.
All
It's
right.
just
Well,
for me. I say supporters.
all right.
Like, hey, I know that, like, I haven't been sticking my face out there a whole lot. And I haven't really been taking on a lot of new projects or anything, but I do have things cooking, and you'll see those things soon. And if I'm an easy guy to contact, just get a hold of me. You have any
Mm,
questions, you have any requests, what have you, you want a nice interview like this? This was a beautiful interview.
It was.
then you just get a hold of me and we'll discuss it.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
thank you very much. This was a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely, man. I appreciate it. I really
Thank you,
enjoyed
bro.
myself.
All right, and if you want to, feel free to hang out after the outro finishes rolling, and we'll be off the air. But all right, thank you everyone for tuning in. And oh yeah, right. And this coming week on Tuesday, I have Binary Orders coming on again. We look forward to talking to him about his new album. And then on Wednesday, actually no, sorry, Binary Order just texted me and asked me to move it to Thursday. That'll be Thursday. But on Wednesday, I have a German metal band called Sarlik Bliss, and they're quite interesting. They have like old English in their lyrics. Pretty cool. All
I'm
right.
gonna watch. That sounds really
All
good.
right.
I'm gonna check it out.
I appreciate that. All right.
Yeah.
Until next time. Yeah. I'm so bad at ending these. I'm working on it.
I know it's hard to say goodbye.
It is. All right. Bye, everyone.
All right. Take care. Bye bye.
Drop the bass.